Everybody ready? You ready?
One connection.
All right. So good evening, and we'll start the regular meeting of the Board of Directors for June 13th, 2017. Why don't we do a roll call, and we'll bravely jump into the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure. Director Coverdell?
Here.
Vice President Feldman?
Here.
Director Glassberg?
Here.
Director Michelson?
Here.
President Reynolds?
Yep. Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So folks in the members of the public, we're thrilled, we're pleased that you came. There's slips on the little credenza there that you fill out and you pass them up and you get to check in with us about how you're feeling. And we would be glad to hear what you have to say. Ann, you gonna fill one out?
I guess so. There was supposed to be a whole crew of people here.
Well, you can represent them.
Isn't Leslie Gordon down as one or 48? One connection, or is it each one separate?
Oh, it says right
If
here,
you
at
get
this
technical,
time, the
it's
public
one, I
may
think,
address
one
the
per parcel.
It's one per parcel, but it's also, if they're each responsible for their own water bill, then technically I think
They're not just setting.
You wanna do them then?
No, I don't just read it.
And there's some overlaps and things like that.
Okay.
so we didn't,
Order of
we're not even
business.
supposed to protest on
Okay, I just asked.
I don't think we can be public.
Yeah, it should
Put it
be
in
coming on.
before or after the
This one.
presentation?
Yeah, I turned that one off.
The presentation first, okay. But this will give them a chance to do it over phone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So what we'll do is we'll have, and I assume, Ann, and I'm sorry, sir, I don't know your name, but the members of the public, what we were gonna do is we'll have our presentation on our budget, and then after the budget, we would be open to public comments on the budget issue. If someone's here from the public who wants to talk about something other than the budget or something that's not on the agenda, this would be the time to do that now. Did I get that right? Thank you.
Right.
All right. So, Ann, did I get that right? You want to talk about the budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so we'll wait till, and sir, would you like to talk about the budget? About the budget?
Yeah,
Okay, so what we'll do is,
I just know
Great.
about the water bill, getting the water bill.
perfect. So what we'll do is we'll have a presentation on what the money will be going to, and then we'll ask you for your comment.
Okay.
All right, we'll cue you. All right. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so prices and rates, okay, all right. Very good. Hi, folks, welcome to the meeting. Gina's got public comment forms for you.
Yes, I am.
All right, Dave, are you gonna start? Mary, Dave?
Well, I'll introduce General Manager Mary Rogren to talk about our
You've been
operations
promoted.
budget, our CIP, and our financing plan. That's all I have to do.
Okay.
Mary,
Well, thank
I
you.
get to work the slides.
So as Dave said, I'm going to summarize our budget and our CIP and our financing plan. First, we started working on the budget back in February. So since February, we have had 8 public meetings, including this one. I have to say, we haven't had many people from the public coming in and asking questions. So you might want to consider that for next year during the process as well. So, but we, in addition to the public meetings, we had our Prop 218 notice that went out that's required by law. We have a constant contact email, e-newsletter, and we've had some notices on our website. So, I'm going to talk about our revenue requirement. Our revenue requirement is really a combination of 3 pieces. One being our ongoing operations and maintenance budget, And then we have our debt service, which would be our loan payments, our principal and interest, and our contribution to our capital and reserves. So, and we look at all those together and come up with what we call our financing plan. And that would be, how are we, what revenue are we going to generate? And if we are short, we have, propose a rate increase or some other method of funding. It might be a loan, but at this point in time, we're not proposing new loans. But before I really, jump into the budget, I wanted to give you, some, background on the water district, and because I don't know if a lot of people know what we do and where our money goes, but we have a fairly complex system. So our water district, we serve 17,000 people here on the Coastside, about 7,400 connections. I know this map is hard to see, but we get a large part of our portion of our water from Crystal Springs Reservoir. So we pump the water over the hill, which is not cheap. We also get water from a place called Pilicetus Lake, which is at the top of the ridge along close to Skylon. And we also get water from, we have some well fields in Pilicetus Creek area and in a place called Denniston Creek area. And we get a portion of our water from Denniston Creek, which is right near above the airport in Half Moon Bay. Our service area extends from Clipper Ridge, the airport, down south of Miramates Point Road, and we have service connections along 92 as well. So I thought I'd share some of the pictures of what what our team of 20 supports. We have 2 water treatment plants, and we're the only Bay Area agency that gets water from San Francisco that treats water. All of our neighbors over the hill, they get their water already treated. So, this is an added complexity for us. So these pictures are actually of our Nunes treatment plant, which is above the high school, and we have pictures of our Denniston water treatment plant, which we have been investing in over the last several years, but it's up near, it's off of where the Brussels sprout farmer is, up in, close to across from the airport. We also have 11 tanks around the service area, both for, these help us with storage and also, a supply in case of fire. I mean, one of our main obligations is to have water available in case of a fire. These are some pictures of our Crystal Springs pump station, and they're probably a little difficult to see, but it's, to pump water from over the hill requires a significant infrastructure. And so we have at the base of the reservoir, it's on the left side, actually, next to the, close to the lake, to the reservoir as you're, but as you're going over the hill. We have, that's our, the main area we get, main equipment that we get our water pumped from over the hill. I have the picture on the left is a diver from going down 170 feet to hook up a pump for us, and that happened. That picture was taken in May. So you could to have a diver to have to do that. You can understand that it's costly, and it's we have this. It's complex. This year we had a lot of storm damage in Pilicetus Creek area where we have our pipe that comes from over the hill. And we had to bring in 60 trucks of riprap. It was, emergency situation to protect our water mains, and cost us over $100,000. We also are very involved. We do round-the-clock leak repairs. If we own the pipe that's in the ground, and if there's a leak, we have to respond. So, then you can go. So, I'll just say in general, before talking about the budget, the people who work here are extremely dedicated, and we're not just an 8 to 5, Monday through Friday organization. We have around-the-clock response. We always have somebody on call, and they're expected to, our staff's expected to respond in the middle of the night, which they often do. So moving on to our budget, our next slide. So we've over the past 5-6 months, we've gone through the detail of our budget, and the details available on our website, and you can get it for our agenda for tonight. This is just a summary of our operating budget, but the key point is that our operations budget is flat year over year. We are really we're really trying to take every effort to watch our costs. One thing what's happened though is that we are seeing a lot of savings in our water purchases from San Francisco, because we have invested in expanding our water supply at Denniston. And so we've had a major capital project even in the last few months. We've replaced the water pipeline in Bridgeport and Clipper Ridge, which is allowing us to push more water south. And then we're building a booster pump station to be able to get more water from our Denniston local source. So with that, that's good news, because we're saving many hundreds of thousands a year from in water purchases. We're as I say, we're flat year over year. We do have an increase in our debt service obligations of $179,000, and so that's actually part of, goes into our rate computation. Basically, that accounts for about 2% of our rate increase. So we see that CCWD's financial condition has improved this year, and largely, as I say, due to being, our increased use of local water sources, and also better predictability of water use. We went for a lot of years, starting in 2007, our water use kept going down, and and our costs are largely are fixed, and so it's really, so we were getting hit pretty hard. But now, the last couple of years, we've stabilized. We now say that, the drought's over, and but we see that we're not really seeing increase in usage. There's a lot of pressure to to conserve. We have, San Francisco, in their projections, they're projecting flat water use in the years to come, and we're under also, the state of California has, the governor has come out with this executive order making water a conservation of way of life in California. So we all, need to just, we have to live conservation in our future. Also, in terms of, the Coastside, we don't have a lot of growth on the Coastside. So all of our, any kind of revenue has to come from our, existing customers. So now, and, the good news though with our investment in Denniston and our local sources, it means less reliance on San Francisco, which is great for us. We've also had a year where we've really looked at controlling costs. We haven't necessarily been quick to fill positions. We've looked, our staff is so great in looking at ways to lower costs, to see, using our local source water, rather than resorting to San Francisco water. So I think I really want to commend, our staff. They're such a great team and really looking out for the Coastside. I will say, though, we're going to require ongoing rate increases to cover inflationary cost increases. This year, we had a benefit of, with our water, with transferring, being able to shift to local sources. But we're still going to have increases that are beyond the CPI, and those include some of our retirement, our health insurance. These are increases that unfortunately we face, and as a result, we're likely, we have to figure out. We'll see more increases. We have to figure out how we can cover our costs. So I don't know if you want to add anything there.
Well, I think we got a lot of letters saying that people hoped we could do without rate increases, and from the staff standpoint, that's just not a realistic expectation. Our costs go up. We do everything we can to control costs, but we are going to continue to experience cost increases just because costs go up. If PG&E doesn't raise its rates, if the health insurers don't raise their premiums, CalPERS is sort of beyond our control. But everything's going up. The cost of construction is going up. The cost of, we've seen, basically in the time I've been here, we've seen a doubling in the cost of putting pipe in the ground. So we just wanted to emphasize that we don't see a point where we would ever get to no cost increases. And I think if you look at districts that have had that, they are now facing very large cost increases to try to catch up, and we're not there. I think we're on the long promised tail of the cost increase curve, where we said we would be having increases at some small margin above inflation. And if you look at you'll later see our cost projections, our increase projections, and we're looking at years worth of 5% increases, and that would be inflation plus a small margin. If inflation is 0, then those numbers would be lower. But we don't see the district ever getting to the point where we can sustain ourselves with no rate increases. Thanks for letting me comment.
Okay. So if you want to. Okay. So, want to move on to our draft capital improvement program for the next 10 years. The one point is that I think it's really important here is that, our commitment to investing in infrastructure has driven our rate increases. We have complex infrastructure, and we need to replace and invest. In our fiscal year 2017, which is ending in June, the district will spend over $5.5 million on infrastructure. And that equates to about $323 a person in the district. So what you're seeing in this picture, this is our Denniston Booster Station, which is allowing us to use more of our local source water. And this is where some of the many hundreds of $1,000s a year savings we'll get from because of this investment. But what you're seeing there is that we have a $2.6 million investment between building that pump station and then on the right-hand side of this these pictures, you'll see some pipe replacement, and you'll see Bridgeport Pipeline project. That with that project, as I say, it's allowing us to use our local sources, but it is expensive. And as I say, this is $2.6 million. We have tank recoding. If anyone lives in El Granada, we have this project going on right now to basically we're redoing, cleaning up the tank inside, repainting, but that's a $700,000 project. So as we're looking at our again we're committed to investing in our infrastructure, and I think we're very grateful to our board. It's been a priority for them to invest in our infrastructure. If you look at our asset value, we're looking at our assets would cost $200 to $300 million to replace in today's dollars. And that includes, we have over 100 miles of pipeline that, to replace a mile of pipeline these days is $1.5 to $2 million. We have 2 water treatment plants, probably $50 million to replace. Crystal Springs pump station and infrastructure, $50 million. Our well sites and pump stations, another $20 million. And we have our tanks. So, we're looking at, these all have, anywhere from 20 to 70 years life. But if you're, but it does mean that we have to be on a constant investment and replacement program. And even if you look at 70 years with, we're averaging around $3 million plus in capital spend, which means that, you could take that to be, a little over $200 million, but. So again, the details of our capital improvement program, they're on the website, but we're, our program calls for $30 million in spending over the next 10 years, $16.5 million in the next 5 years. So that with an average of $3.3 million per year. We have our key projects, so you can look at this, but we have pipeline replacement, water supply development, recoding all these tanks. Actually, this is only 3 of them, but it's very expensive. And again, as we look at our historical spend, we're in the range between 2012 and 2016. We spent over $3.2 million. This year we spent $5 million, so it raises up the average. And this is just a list of some of the samples of the projects that we've done over the last 5 years, including what I was the top one is the Bridgeport pipeline replacement. We've spent $6 million on our Denniston treatment plant. So So this slide shows where our revenue is going. So our again, if our revenue is a combination of our operating budget and our debt service and our, capital investment and any left over to reserves, but so But here you'll see that 1/3 of the district's revenue actually goes toward our infrastructure spend. So our 26% goes toward just our capital spend that we're, pay as you go, what we're spending every year. 9% is on our, our loan payments of capital that we've already spent, and, we're paying off the debt. I think what's other interesting points with this slide is that you will see that our purchase water has decreased, and it's 17% of our spend. Our personnel costs, our operation and maintenance personnel costs all in are 15% of our budget, and our admin and customer service personnel costs are 14% of our budget.
Couldn't do it.
So the next part of our presentation is on our financing plan, and this is how do we pay for our for our budget and our capital. And again, just a reminder of the various buckets that have to go into this financing plan. So this year, again, we used the firm of HF&H Consultants, and Rick Simonson is here representing HF&H. They have, again, helped us in reviewing our financing plan and our cost of service analysis. So our financing plan is actually, we look at it from a 5-year perspective. And it's a perspective of the district's fiscal health and the ability to fund operations and cash flow, our debt service, capital improvements, and reserve requirements. What we're recommending as a result of looking at this financing plan is a 0% rate increase on the base charge and a 5% increase on the consumption charge. Based on HF&H's financing plan and cost of service analysis. So the key assumptions behind the financing plan, first of all, is that it is supported by the cost of service analysis. And I might ask Rick just to explain for a second what cost of service means, in like one sentence or briefly. So
a few sentences, maybe. Good afternoon, board members, members of the public. Rick Simonson with HF&H Consultants. As Mary said, we helped with the financing plan this year, and we have for the last few years. And Mary has done a great job of explaining what a financing plan is. Expenses, your revenues, what's the shortfall or surplus, and that's how you set your rates. A little more detailed on the cost of service is just looking at the revenues that are coming from each customer class and how those revenues are being generated. And you can set based on each of those customer classes their respective rate structure. And a couple years ago, we made a drastic change to your rate structure. That's looking at the tiers that you charge. The rates you charge by tier, the more water you use, the higher the charge on the residential. And this year, looking at it, those are still good. We're not suggesting you change that rate structure. And the second piece of that is looking at the fixed versus variable component. The fixed, we were saying a 0% increase on the fixed charge and a 5% on that volumetric charge. So cost of service just goes into a little bit more detail of how those revenues should be generated and how you should set those rates. And during any of this discussion, when there's public comment, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those for you.
Thank you. So with our financing plan, in addition to being supported by the cost of service analysis that Rick has been involved with helping us on, we also assume that our capital is going to be funded on a pay-as-you-go basis. We're not assuming that we're going to go out and get more loans. We're also assuming that we will gradually move toward achieving our targeted reserve balance within 5 years. So, and what our target, what we're looking at is that it's we're covering our cash flow requirements, which we're saying 25% of our operating expenses, which is really only 1.5 billing cycles. So we really will only have one billing cycle in the bank. 100% of our annual debt service, and most of this debt service is due in the July-August period. So we have to have it in the bank now so that we can pay it. And the other piece is that we'd like to be able to cover 100% of our planned capital spend for the upcoming year. We don't want to have to wait until the middle of the year till we have enough money in the bank to start doing, spending on our capital. So that's our goal. This actually is a fairly modest compared to a lot of our counterparts and agencies who even locally, I'll say like Montera has, many times over their revenue in the bank. So it is something that, this is a goal that we don't think that we're excessive on, but we'd like to be working toward. So now this chart may be a little bit difficult to view, but this is our financing model. We've over the last many months we've worked with the board, and we have this in Excel, and we tweak it and put in different combinations of rate increases. But what it is, so the red line is a line that represents our targeted operating reserves. So that's what I just talked about in terms of we want to be able to cover our cash flow requirements, our capital, and our debt service. And that's what we're looking to have, and what we really want to have in the bank. The green, the solid line, is where we're at in terms of if where if we plug in increases, and I'll get to that one in a second. And the dotted line is the one is if we don't do any increases, what would happen to our reserves? And you can see that in 5 years, our cash balance would go to zero. So it's so we need to be look for ways to increasing our revenue in order to have cash in the bank, I'll say, and cover and grow our reserves. The solid line represents our recommendation from staff, which we're saying 0% base charge and 5% consumption charge on this year's rates. And then we plugged in 5% increases going out for the next 5 years. So with that, so this year the net revenue increase is 3.9% in the end, after having 0% on the base charge and 5% on the consumption charge. But we would need to have 5% to start to get up to the red line. I will note that we plugged in, if we had 0, we'd need to have a 10% rate increase next year to be in the same position. So with that curve. So what is the impact on our bills? And we were actually excited about talking about some options with Rick and on our cost of service analysis, because we were, in working with Rick, we were able to come up with the idea that we could have a 0% increase on our base charge. And why we feel that's really important is that it reduces the impact on customers using a lower quantity of units. And so, so in terms of, as you're looking at, if someone uses 4 units or less, the customer is going to see only a 2% rate increase. So we're looking at 4 units. it's, you know, an additional $1.84 for 2 months or 92 cents a month. And so what we're seeing, if you look at also that 24 at the line, we have the circles in green, but what you'll see, this is these indicate how many bills, what percentage of bills are in that grouping and will experience a level of rate increase. So 24% of our customers will see a 2% increase because they're using 5 units or less. And over 50% of our customers will see a 3% increase because they're at the 9-unit mark, so, or under. So, and the great news about it, it's supported by our cost of service analysis. So this is just the impact of looking at our analysis. So as we move to the cost of service analysis, as noted, we started using HF&H now 3 years ago for the and in preparing our 2015-16 budget, and we did a major increase of our rate structure. So, and really our focus was to, comply with the requirements of Proposition 218, and there was the April 2015 San Juan Capistrano case, the Taxpayers Association versus the City of San Juan Capistrano. So, given the recommendation of the HF&H analysis, we were able to we implement significant changes and a realignment of our tier structure. So we've continued to use HF&H, and last year they they took another look at at our rates, and they looked at our cost of service analysis again this year. So, and they determined that our methodology and cost of service allocations are still applicable. So, we've proposed the 5% rate increase on our consumption quantity charges. Since our operating expenses only differ by about 2% from the expenses used in the 2015-16 budget, we're looking to be okay with our cost of service analysis. We're also, in terms of, we had a decline in, water sales, which resulted from, conservation across all the district's customer classes. And our allocation of our capital cost funding and uniform rate increases are still consistent with the 2015-16 analysis. So our allocation factors haven't changed significantly. So we feel like we're still in line with our requirements of our cost of service analysis. So, and then as Rick noted, which is the good news story here, is that we're proposing no increase on the base charge, and HF&H, they've confirmed that the district can hold its base charges where they currently are, remain compliant with Proposition 218, because the resulting charge is proportionate to the cost of providing service. So, so that's my presentation. You can get. So, I will just make one other point on Exhibit 6 of the package, you'll find the proposed resolution to our rate and fee schedule as well, so.
Which is Exhibit 6.
6 in here. I think she's saying number 6, basically.
It's on. You have to look through it. It's on page 28. It's in section 4, on 28, page 28.
Exhibit F.
Here we go. Exhibit F.
No, I'm sorry, Exhibit F.
Well, thanks for being so organized and well prepared.
Thank you.
Yeah. So at this point, if people would like to, members of the public would like to discuss the rate increase proposal,
You will open the public hearing formally.
we will formally open the public hearing. Thank you. All right. Craig, would you like to join us?
Is it ready to go? Okay. Mr. Feldman last year was all for the 8%, dropping us down to 8%, where we live at Canada Cove. I mean, over here at, everybody's on Social Security, and we'd like to get that dropped to 8% if possible.
So we're going for 3%.
I can't hear you.
So the rate that we're proposed at is 3%.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
3 point.
combined, yeah.
Five.
It's
Combined,
it's 5 all told, but it breaks down to 3.5% when, because there's 2 rates you're charged, a base rate, which we're not increasing, and then an actual per gallon water rate. The water rate, the base rate staying the same at 0, and we're proposing raising the cost of water by 5%. So when you combine the 2 together, it comes out to 3.5%. 3.9.
3.9.
Sorry,
But you don't wanna go
3.9.
there.
Plus or
You don't
minus
wanna go
based
there
on
anyway.
usage.
Yeah.
When will that start?
July 1st.
It would be July is what, if it gets passed, then it would be July.
Okay. Well, Mary, it was nice listening to you, but everything on that screen looked the same as last year. Logs falling on this and on the water department. And, you know, it's just, I turned my TV off because I can't afford it no more. I got, so I had to have water. But I got I could go to the library and play discs. I got a Sony disc player. But we had to have some kind. You know, when I first moved here, I used to have a double-wide mobile home in Canada Cove. And everybody was telling me, when you move over there, there's no water bill there. There's no electricity bill there. And when I got there and found out that there was, you know, it's just, I'm stuck here. But I got family live in Santa Rosa and Sonoma, a brother and a sister. So I've been looking for places up there. Some are high, too high for me, and there's one that's very low, and it's water and garbage combined. You don't have to pay the water. So I don't know what is Half Moon Bay so special for? I know people in Lake County, they got cheap rent, and they don't pay water. So, how much, Rick here, seems like a nice guy, how much you pay him to come in and back you up tonight? You had to pay him something.
He was hired to make sure that our rates we're as fair and as equitable as possible.
Okay.
And it's complicated, and so it is true that we do try and hire people to help us make sure we do it right. And
All right.
one of the things that's really important to us is to make sure that we hear what people have to say, and we try and keep it as low as we possibly
Okay.
can. And I think we've been working on this for about 6 months. And I want to say thank you for coming in, and
Mm-hmm. All right.
your being here helps us understand why it's really important to work so hard to keep those rates low.
Now, I don't know if you've ever been in Lacey Gardens, on the ground floor, the toilet. People go in there and brush their teeth and wash their faces because they can't afford the water.
You know,
So I
we're
want
working on it.
to thank you
Thank
for your
you for
time.
coming, much appreciated,
Okay,
Craig.
bye now.
Did you have a?
Yeah, I just want to add, actually, good question, asking about our rate consultant. Would it be fair to say that we hired a consultant due to regulatory compliance due to 218?
Yeah, I mean, I can answer from a legal
Yeah,
perspective.
from a legal perspective, we are legally bound due to legislative act to hire a rate consultant. So we didn't hire a hired gun to make the case for us to hire the rates. This is due to state legislation, though. And so let our attorney speak, just,
Okay.
and he'll clarify 218 and why we had to hire a.
Governor
rate
Brown,
consultant.
the worst governor we ever had.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir. I agree.
And I want to say that he said the drought was over, except down some parts in Southern California. But now he wants us to take showers, every 6 days? I wonder how long his showers are at, how long they're at.
My feeling is he'd like to criminalize the use of water. I mean, I think he's going down that path, so I fully agree with you.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Craig. All right.
I mean, I'm happy to weigh in. The law doesn't require the district to hire a rate consultant.
But
What the law
just
requires
compliance,
is to have a cost of service analysis. And the cost of service analysis is very important to be sure we're legally compliant with the substantive requirements of Proposition 218. And so a lot of agencies are hiring rate consultants to do the complicated analysis that's required.
I don't know, just as a side comment, knowing nothing about the San Juan situation, but I wonder if San Juan Capistrano had a rate consultant, because they must have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees to go through that lawsuit. We don't want to do
They
that.
did have a rate consultant. They also had lawyers. And Proposition 218 litigation is very expensive. And there's a lot of it going on right now, and that's one of the reasons why you have lawyers and rate consultants evaluating every step of the way the cost of service analysis and how you justify that based on the complex legal environment that we're living in right now.
Welcome to California.
That's why the swallows don't come back to
They
Capistrano.
can't afford it. The water rates are too high.
Next, we have Galen Evans.
I'm the administrator at Leslie Gardens. It's one of my residents. There's another one, and back there. And I mean, I was here last year, and we thank you for reducing the rate from 12 to 10. Obviously, we aren't going to be able to sway you to reduce the rates, but I just want you to, when you start thinking about these things, to bear in mind these people that we have living here. And he's absolutely right. We have 2 public bathrooms downstairs. People use the toilets, the residents use the toilets, they use the sinks, they use the paper towels, and because they can't afford it. And Craig did have to give up his cable because he couldn't afford it. We've had to assist residents to pay their water rates because they couldn't afford it through our little slush fund that we didn't talk about. So just think about that when you consider this, because 5% to people living on $821 a month, or 2%, or 3 1/3%, that is huge to them. And I mean, I've experienced this over and over again. So you talk about increases every year, and that's what really frightens us, is that Social Security is not going to go up 5%. And everything else is going to go up, including the water, and these people are going to be priced out. And so even though we are subsidizing rents through HUD, they have to pay for their utilities, and it's become an extreme burden for them. So I just hope that you will think about that when you think about these rate increases, that there are those people out there who are really suffering from them.
Galen, thank you for coming. One of the things that you and Ann brought to our attention, I want to say 4 years ago, a lifeline or reduced water rate for low-income individuals. And the state has actually heard, we carried that message. I took that to Sacramento twice at their open session meetings. And the state has actually heard that and is moving forward. Bureaucracy, government moves slowly in the state of California, not nationally. And it's been intriguing to see. I've listened to now 3 different proposals. They've been interviewing how it's being done up and down the state and trying to figure out and putting those forward. I think these 2 gentlemen would know more about how that progress is going, but I do want you both to know that the message that you brought to this board several years ago was heard and taken to Sacramento. We represented you and said that this is an issue for our constituents and very important, and the state's actually working on it.
This is extremely good news.
I'm actually really impressed. I think, Rick, you could answer what progress we have.
Yeah, and there are 2 workshops coming up on this issue. The state board, within a year, I believe the bill is saying that they have to come up with a plan, and there's going to be a workshop in Oakland at the end of this month and up in Sacramento as well.
Yeah, so,
Extremely good news.
yeah, and you had something?
Well, I had planned to talk later about director meetings that I had attended. And I think it's probably germane to talk about 2 of the items that I was going to talk about later because you folks may not be here. The AQUA meeting, Association of California Water Agencies in May, had 2 sessions regarding approaches to low income and lower rate structures for many people. There are over 1,000 water agencies in the state. There are 430 members of AQUA, many of whom were represented at the meeting in May. There is a lot of concern throughout the state because of the 218 handcuffs we all wear to try to reduce rates in a rational manner for lower income, lifeline type philosophies, which happens in other areas, in PG&E and others, you know that. So there are 2 bills or 2 things that are in process now. One is called State Constitutional Amendment 4, which is being proposed by Congressman Hertzberg, and AQUA is supporting that amendment. And that amendment is simply to come up with an approach to allow local water agencies the ability to provide lifeline-type services in a legal and lawful manner. Now, these things take time, and I'm just telling you that there's a lot of concern. We're not the only ones who face this dilemma. Many people do, and they're trying to push something solid through in the form of an amendment, which is a simpler approach than a new bill. There's a second approach, which is a bill that's called 401, which is a bill that's being proposed by the state to reduce rates for low-income lifeline people, which is probably less inviting to some because it carries with it a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of very difficult process, which makes it very hard to implement because the state gets to be in the middle of all this and starts to do things about rebates and all kinds of things which may not be as, shall we say, simple for us to implement. So these both will take time. The amendment is in process. AQUA supports it. They're trying to pick up steam and get it to the Assembly for a vote. The state bill will be going on for a while. So I can't talk to you about how successful these will or won't be, but I want you to know that this is not our problem only. This is not Half Moon Bay only. This is the state that has this problem. This is 1,000 water agencies, and many of whom are looking for relief. So we hear you. The state hears you. The agencies hear you. The thing is, there has to be a legal and forthright approach to making this happen. So I'm at least heartened by the fact that they're worrying about this, and they actually brought it to our attention, and that they're trying to do something to give some relief to the people who may, in fact, be really needy of it. So that's just something you should know. I was going to talk to this later to the board, but I thought I'd let you know this so that you understand that we're not unaware, and that we really are looking for ways to come up with approaches that may, in fact, in the future, be more reasonable and helpful to you with your particular situation.
And we appreciate
Okay, so that's the best I can do to give you a little bit of optimistic view of the future, but we'll all have to wait and see how it pans out.
Thank you. Thomas, are you,
Tom, yeah. I'm Tom Pohl. I live here in Half Moon Bay, and I like nice presentation, Mary, and I like I read the executive summary from it's HF&H. Yes. My question's not on the expense side; it's on the perceived usage over the next 5 years. I think the executive summary said maybe 11% increase over the next 5 years, something on that accord. And I didn't see any explanations on this revenue, how much usage is going to increase. I think the rate increase is a little bit premature until the new numbers on what the usage this year will be, now that the drought is over. Because if I based my retirement earnings based on 2008, I think I'd have a lot different numbers too. But I think we should. I think the district should wait a few months to see if usage increases this summer before putting in a rate increase, because just a usage increase of 5% looks like it will cover what is needed for the next year's budget. Because I heard what's about 3.8% is more needed for next year. So just an increase of 5% would cover it. I heard the revenue projection was based on SFPUC, but I didn't know what range that is. If it's for the city of San Francisco, high-density housing, of course they're not going to have much more water usage in the high-rises. They don't have a lot of green space, whereas here we have more landscaping, more green space, and I could see a lot more usage. And my neighbors are putting in gardens and so forth, and I see a little bit greener tinge to lawns, maybe not totally green, but greener. I would like to see, I would really be interested in see what the numbers are on usage the next few months and see if it increased over last year.
do you want to answer that one?
I understand the confusion because an awful lot of information has been given tonight. We don't base our projections on what San Francisco uses, because you're absolutely right, there, it's a different world there, and they use much less water per person than probably than we do. We do it based on our own historical amounts, so we're watching every month. Mary or Dave or Joe could tell you probably to the gallon how much we've used as of this week, and whether it's, and how it compares to last year and the year before. So we're not really basing it on some other area. We're basing it on our area and our usage. And at this point, I believe the budget's predicated on pretty much the same usage level of water this year as last.
We went from 550 to 560.
So we went up a little bit.
10.
Yeah, we anticipated a little bit.
Yeah.
A 10% increase?
No,
Oh,
not
10.
that much.
No, 10,
Oh.
yeah, I can.
10
do
million
math.
gallon, 550 to 560, very minimal.
What is do you know what are the latest numbers? Is it compared to last year? Is it up 5%?
Right.
No,
it's down?
No.
Same as the
Same?
previous year.
Right.
Yeah.
We,
It's early in the summer.
we have to say that our users have been very, very, very compliant with the requirements that were thrust upon them. We have to really commend our people. We are really done a good job in our conservation efforts, and they seem to want to continue that trend. They really do feel that there is a value in water conservation, because it's only a matter of time when we will find ourselves back in a similar situation in another drought and have the same kind of situation to face. So it's something that people get trained to do, and they've done a good job, and we really appreciate the community's efforts. And we don't really see it changing. I don't see it changing dramatically. I haven't changed my habits at all since this hurt, because I feel like that's the right thing to do. And if my lawn stays brown, it'll stay brown. I mean, that's the way life is. So that's a good point. But our goal and our estimate was based on what we really believe we've seen historically, and what we think we'll still continue to see historically. Now, if in fact it does change over time and things increase, we always have the option later to look at the rate structure and see if in fact it has to be modified. This is not forever. You can change things. And so it's a matter of watching how things go and deciding whether something needs to be done. And we wouldn't not consider that as an option if in fact it became clear that that was going to be an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Ann, would you like to?
Good evening. It's not afternoon anymore. I'm glad that you didn't increase the base rate or base unit or whatever it's called, because that's a real killer for us who live on low income, senior income. And something I wanted to alert you, and also, Mr. Feldman, the effort that you mentioned that's going on in the state, if you need any grassroots people to go and speak, we can always get some people to come, because I think sometimes putting a face on a situation is very helpful. Which brings to mind a program called HEAP. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So PG&E has a lifeline thing, and then there's a federal program called HEAP. And being a good citizen, I filled out my evaluation of HEAP, and of course I got a phone call and found out that the, not to get political, but the new administration is thinking of completely wiping HEAP out. And so that's a federal program. So HEAP is a program that gives you a big credit for like $300 credit on your PG&E bill if you're a senior citizen and have low income. So don't make it a federal. I mean, I think it's so good that you're doing it as a state program, because you know, these people are just, they came to Leslie Gardens. Craig was there. We all had our pictures taken. You know, we said we'll help however we can, because it's a good program. You know, it helps us with our PG&E bill. So, yeah, no, it's really interesting to live in. I think I've been living here almost 10 years, and poverty is really interesting to look at in terms of California. You know, mostly, you know, it's mostly female. And there's so many women who just, you know, they didn't work, they didn't get decent Social Security, they got somehow divorced or didn't get the house or whatever. I mean, you know, you all live in this is a very privileged area. And so when you see people who basically might even make $300 a month, I mean, think about that. You know, it makes $10 seem a lot for us, but to you it's probably, you know, disposable. So it's really important for us to keep that in mind. So the last time I was here, there was some kind of legal issue, and I guess that has, because there was a legal issue that was constraining you from making, having benefits for low-income people.
Right.
So that's what you've
218, that's what.
so 218.
That's what ties our hands.
That's
right
what,
now.
that's the straitjacket,
These-
and so that's what's.
These amendments and these bills are trying to come up with a mechanism to
To mitigate it.
mitigate that, yes, exactly right.
Okay.
But legally.
But legally,
Right.
but
God
legally
forbid.
mitigated so that if we do something, it's not illegal.
Who are the people bringing the lawsuits? I mean, that takes a lot of knowledge to fix. Citizens? But they have to be really smart to
So
understand all that.
That's where we're hoping to see some progress going.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm
To
really
give you a little hope.
glad. And really do get the word out to us, because we really would, we do have way more time than money, so we're happy to go and testify.
Okay.
So thank you again for your work.
Ann, thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
Ann.
Pleasure, thank you.
We have one more gentleman. Gina, does he want to?
No, thank you.
Okay, all right. Let's close the public session. Thank you for the
Public
public for your, please listen to how the dialogue goes, but we'll close the public hearing and then go to director's discussion. Chris, would you like to lead the group?
Yeah,
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
oh, and he's,
Thank you.
and he's left.
Left the building.
The gentleman in the green shirt who left the building did bring up a good point. If we sold 10, 20, 30 million gallons more, we'd be in a much better position next year. So I tell you, while this legislation is, percolates its way through through the halls of Sacramento, if people that can afford or to use a little more water, would use a little more water, they could actually indirectly help those who are on a fixed income, because we wouldn't be facing lower water sales next year. So it's kind of a roundabout way, and I've always said maybe we should maybe it's time to decriminalize water use. I mean, there does appear to be a fair amount. We're not going to be washing off our sidewalks anytime soon with potable water, but I think maybe we could free it up a little bit, plant some flowers, maybe make that lawn somewhat green. And the end result would be, we wouldn't be sitting here forced to raise the water rates of those on fixed incomes. I mean, and that's doable. I mean, until the cuffs come off at 218, that's an immediate way to make next year's rate hearing a little more palatable to those on fixed incomes.
Since the crowd is gone, I have nothing to say.
I know, I'm sorry they left.
What I was going to say was, you already all know, and I was just going to highlight the fact that this board has been listening for the last 4 years, and in fact, worked along with HF&H and staff to come up with a plan that would make it less onerous on low-income folks, and so I'm proud of the board and staff for doing that.
Well, let's go to Bob.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, I've been advocating for encouraging people to use water for the last year. I think it's the appropriate time. We have water. I mean, I don't know that we can go out and advertise. I'm not sure that's reasonable, but I feel that way, and I think you use it when you have it. And you turn on the news, and I can't believe we prayed for 5 years to get rain. The rain came. The mountains are still low to a snow, and now it's warming up, it's starting to run off, and everybody's whining about the runoff. It's an amazing place to live where it doesn't matter what we get, somehow it's not good. But runoff is a good thing, and it's more storage facilities are full. We're in amazing condition storage-wise. Calaveras being the weak link, but it's not done. So I think it's time to use it. And I don't think we ought to be running around being crazy, but it's a great time to utilize water to get yourself in a position to deal with the next drought. And sales would be a wonderful advantage.
Kathleen, we've told people, or you've put up information on the website indicating that the rules had changed, that people could use water and some of the same restrictions were no longer available. We're no longer there, and that, things had been eased up. My opinion has always been that one of the issues that we face now in the increase in use is that the price has gone up for most users to some degree, reasonably significantly over the last 3 or 4 years. And I think they may know that, and I think they may feel that to increase their use significantly is going to cost them more money, and they're not planning perhaps that, feeling that they're, prepared to do that. And I think some of the bills could be relatively pricey for using significantly more water. So, I think there's that too. I think people may want to, they may feel it's okay, but that it may cost a bit more than they may see fit to pay. I mean, that would be one of the reasons that would hold it down. And my question to you, of course, is if we went to 560 to 580, how much more would we have to use to really see that rate be able to be modified? I mean, that's the question. And we used to do what, 800 million gallons a year? 900, I don't know, at one point I remember 9.
Each million gallons represents about 15,000 in revenue. So 10 million gallons, 150,000, 20 million gallons, 300,000. Each 100,000 is, round numbers, 1% of
Okay.
total revenue. So,
So if you could get up 330
yeah, if we
million?
went up 30 million gallons, that would be the equivalent of a 3%. Well, no, because it's
No.
not all variable costs. It's about
Right,
85%. It's about only 15%. So there's a little discount from that, but,
So
round
if we went
numbers.
to
30 million
560
gallons
to
at the
600, we could see a couple of percent, 2-3% off the next,
Sure.
the next 5% that we were planning on, the 5%
Any
and the
increase,
5%.
any increase gives us a tailwind.
Okay, well,
But I can tell you, we're not seeing it now. I mean, we are not.
No, I know.
Yeah.
This year, we based it on 550, and where are we now? What are we looking at?
We will, right now, we're averaging about almost 560,
Okay.
so.
So we're right about where we,
Maybe
But we would-
another bit of information from Kathleen out on the web about
Yeah.
just reminding everybody that things are not as
floggings
severe
have
as they
been
were.
suspended.
What?
The floggings have been suspended.
Right.
Free to use
I mean,
water.
his point is well taken. If they if we keep letting them know, maybe there'll be a change in the mores of the people. I don't know.
Wednesday is wash your dog day.
Okay.
As long as you have a shut-off on your hose.
Okay, well, that's a good point, and maybe that'll help next year.
I mean, one of the things that's in place that is finally being taken and utilized by the municipalities is MWELO, which is the Water Efficient Landscape Ordinance. And gardens that are over 2,500 square feet that are being renovated have to have an irrigation plan that describes every single gallon of water that is run into that garden. Plus, it has to come with a one-year irrigation plan that predicts exactly that it won't exceed the maximum water allocation for that property. And, almost all the communities that we see, over the hill are really enforcing these ordinances. So if they would be enforced in Half Moon Bay or by the county's getting really active about it finally. But if they would be enforced, then, there are predictions about how much water would be required. People could predict how much water they would utilize. They could predict what the net cost would be. I mean, it's no longer an open-ended deal, it's a science. And so it's not like encouraging people to restore things like that is cutting them loose, because if they do it legally, they're so restricted now, it's unbelievable. And it's it's law. It's not an option. You don't get to maybe do it. Now, people, civil disobedience is reigning in California still, but that's the truth of the matter. And so I think that there are just things like that that are reasonable. I don't think we ought to go out and advertise that people out of landscape. That's not the point I'm trying to make. But we do have an abundance of water. We do have great sources of water. We're utilizing local sources like crazy, which I think is wonderful. It's water from our area. We've got Crystal Springs, but we're not really using a lot of that water. Pillarcitos Lake is on our side of the hill. It's local water. And, compared to what we were using 10 years ago on an annual basis, we're radically reduced. So we're not talking about encouraging, a tripling of the water use, but an increase of 10% or something like that might mean no rate increase. And what does that really represent? It's 60,000 or 60 million gallons of water. So, spread across 17,000 customers. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not arguing for advocacy, but I'm just suggesting that it's a reasonable time. We aren't in a no water condition, and we're in the water business, for goodness sakes. We buy, treat, and sell water. That's what we do. So getting water use, I just don't see that as contrary to our mission, But I don't think we should run banner ads.
No, I don't agree too.
All right, do we have any other comments on the proposal? Do we have a motion?
This would be to adopt the resolution.
Yeah, on page
Move to approve the resolution.
Yeah, now it's lost it again.
2017-01.
2017-01.
There you go.
I'll second that.
Joanne?
Is that adequate, Patrick?
Yeah.
Okay. Director Coverdale?
Adequate.
This is our first resolution this year.
I thought you were gonna read the whole title, but
Yeah, that's what I was hoping
It's all right there on the agenda.
you want to read it though?
Sure, if you want to, whoever made the motion, you're welcome to.
I didn't make
Would
the
you like to
motion.
read that?
Would you like it in English or?
Yeah.
Spanish.
What
Spanish I came to.
what other languages do you speak?
Tagalog.
For this, not many. All right. In the interest of full disclosure, I move that we approve resolution number 2017-01, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Coastside County Water District, amending the rate and fee schedule to increase water rates and finding that the amendments are exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
That was the part I really wanted in that.
You're seconding that, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Aye.
Doesn't he have to read it again?
Yeah, just in case somebody missed it.
He can actually do it in about 3 or 4 languages.
All right, gentlemen, let's move this
Yes,
along.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
Director Glassberg?
Aye.
Director Michelson?
Yes.
President
Aye.
Reynolds? Thank you.
All right,
And now we need another motion.
yes, but I've lost that one
For the
too.
budget.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
For the budget.
Yes, that is. All right. Yeah, where'd it go?
It's on your agenda.
On the agenda?
I was gonna say, isn't that part of item 4? Special order business, the fiscal budget.
We're just going to approve it.
So can we just approve the
I move we
recommended budget?
Oh, there
We
it is.
approve the fiscal year 2017, 2018 operation and maintenance budget and capital improvement program for the fiscal year 2017, 2018 through 2026, 2027.
Second.
I second.
No, you can't, he already seconded it.
Oh,
You'd
didn't?
have to
You
third
can
it.
third it.
You can third
I
it.
didn't hear him.
Why don't you take a roll call
Yes.
before this
Direct-
gets carried
Director
away?
Coverdale?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
Director Glassberg?
Aye.
Director Michelson?
Yes.
President, thank you.
Tough read.
All right, next we have the business of the consent calendar. Does anybody,
Thank you very much, Rick. Appreciate your
you,
help.
coming.
Thanks for coming.
I did review the expenses for this month, and saw no issues. And so, does anyone have anything they'd like to pull from the consent calendar? All right, so noted. We need a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move.
All
that
right,
we
Bob's
approve it.
put a first on it. I'll put Chris, you're
I'll
second.
put a second on it.
All right, then it's a second. Joanne, why don't you take us through a roll call?
Director Coverdale?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
Director Glassberg?
Aye.
Director Michelson?
Aye.
President Reynolds, thank
Yep.
you.
All right, let's go through, Bob, you looked like you covered our meeting, your meeting attendance, right?
Yeah, I had,
Okay, thank you for
had
bringing
one
that up.
other comment.
Okay,
on that.
but I wanted to comment, that was a good job bringing it up when you did, because that was when it was needed, not when
No, I agree. I
everybody left.
thought
Yeah.
that might be useful at that
Yep,
point.
thank you.
The other thing that went on at the meeting I thought was noteworthy, and there was a luncheon, the first day luncheon is a sort of a potpourri of many kinds of issues and items, and one of the things they discussed was the success of conservation activities in the state, and how everybody had stepped up to conserving water, how they had done a good job, how the Save on Water program, Save Our Water program had gone off so well in the state that everybody seemed to take it to heart, and that some people even had put it in as part of their website, their webpage, and that was really, really very nice. And they put up an example of a webpage. This was in the room of 450 or 1,500 people from 430 agencies, and they put up a website page, and I could have sworn it said Coastside County Water District on it, and it did. It was our Save Our Water webpage. And so I thought that was cool. And I said, hey, I think that's what it said, and I checked with her later, and it was, and I want to give Kathleen a round of applause for that. We like this. We got
Poster child.
great public relations there. It was amazing. It was us. I loved it.
And you know
Save Our Water.
that page needs to be modified now.
Yeah, now you want me to take it off?
Well, at the time, it was cool.
I think Wednesday Wash Your
Thank you.
Dog Day,
That's
that's
all
the
I have.
one.
That's great.
Well done, great. Meetings attended,
None.
okay. Chris?
Wait a minute.
So I was flying through the Sierras yesterday, and it was still snowing in the Sierra.
Yeah, it snowed
Yeah,
Wednesday and
snowing.
Tuesday.
Yeah, yesterday in the Sierra, actively snowing.
And you flew in it?
Yep, yep. Yeah,
You're gutsy.
yeah, it was snowing. Yep, and a lot more than you'd think. All right, general business, please.
Our first item of general business is approve a salary schedule. I'll let
Okay.
Mary talk about that.
So we are still in negotiations with the union on the MOU that would be effective July 1st. An item that we have agreed upon is the COLA increase, which we've discussed. And we'd like to move forward and have the salary schedule approved with the 3.3% COLA increase. We want to avoid having to consider retroactive pay for the district. We also need this approval for CalPERS as well. So we request your approval.
Couple
Yeah,
of
go ahead.
questions. This is for all staff,
All
not just
staff.
union represented staff,
Correct.
right? And was this, for the union represented staff, was this something that we had already committed to in our current agreement?
Right, yes.
So it didn't lapse? I mean, sometimes it's good for a couple of years at COLA, and then you have to renegotiate whatever you're going to do. But this was already locked in. Is that correct?
Well, we're,
Within the term of the agreement, a COLA each July 1st in the term of the agreement has been our practice for all the time we've had an MOU. This July 1st adjustment is not covered by the current MOU.
Oh, that was
So
my
the current
question.
MOU the term of the next MOU will start July 1st, 2017.
And I would just like to comment that that's a reflection of the relationship that we have with our staff. Because with another kind of relationship, we would never do something like that. Because you just simply, as a strategy for negotiations, you simply do not lock in money for one thing until you've agreed for everything that has anything to do with money, or you get railroaded down the line. So the fact that we have the relationship that we do with our staff is rare. It's really rare. And So, bravo, I think it's great.
Chris?
I couldn't agree more, because protracted labor negotiations are never pleasant, and, you know, they end up costing money, legal representation, and the fact that we can do that on pretty much a handshake, yeah, is absolutely, yeah, is a testament to the work environment that we have here at CCWD.
Bob?
No, it's fine. I don't have
Okay.
a comment.
Ken?
We had discussed this before.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay. We'll need a first.
First?
All right. I'll second.
And that's approving the salary schedule with the cost of living adjustment increase? for
Yes,
future
that would be.
years? Thank you.
Thank you.
That was implied.
And did you have a second?
Yeah, I
Oh, okay.
seconded it. I went right out there. He said first, I said second. We don't know who's on third.
Director Coverdale?
Yes.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
Director Glassford?
Aye.
Director Michelson?
Yes.
Yeah.
President Reynolds? Thank
Yep.
you.
All right. Who's gonna, Dave?
I'll talk about this.
Okay,
Uh,
wade right in.
For any director who's been to an Aqua meeting, the experience is one of learning about the world of threats to our water supply and our existence. When we talk about conservation being a way of life, et cetera, the potential impact of those things just pales in comparison to this proposal that is being put forth by the staff of the State Water Resources Control Board in the current political environment. And it's just a continuation of the battle between environmental interests and agricultural and urban water users. Basically, the staff of the State Board has put forth a proposal with the goal of improving water quality and environmental conditions in the Delta to limit to mandate the flow in the San Joaquin River, mandate unimpaired base flow, which is kind of like saying, okay, there always needs to be a certain number of cubic feet per second going down the San Joaquin River at a certain point. And the numbers they're talking about have the potential to cut San Francisco's water supply on the Tuolumne back by numbers like 50%. So naturally, everybody is pretty upset about this, and Aqua has mobilized, and Bosca submitted a 52-page comment letter on the CEQA document for this proposed approach. It's all part of this very complex and long-running controversy over the Delta. It's highly political. We're talking about the tunnels. It's scientifically complex, but this is seen by Bosca and by Aqua as a major threat. And so, if the Bay Delta thing is really fascinating, I think San Francisco used to kind of take the attitude, well, we take our water out upstream, we're in the Tuolumne, that Bay Delta stuff, that's all about, Contra Costa Water District, and those poor guys have to, but, no longer. We are, because the Tuolumne is tributary to the San Joaquin, and it goes into the Delta, this comes right back upstream to affect us. So it's a matter of concern to us as a Bosca agency as well. So Aqua has asked that we pass this resolution supporting their position. And if you can read, anybody who could read this Aqua policy statement and understand what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's kind of
It's totally, it's beyond me, and I think that
Right. It's very
that's a testament to how complex and political this is. I think the subtext is that should the state board try to do this, we're going to enter into decades of litigation. It's going to keep 1,000 lawyers busy full-time litigating on behalf of all the water interests affected by this action. It'll be like the Klamath River. The Klamath River controversy still goes on to this day. They thought they had negotiated an agreement. I think basically what Aqua is saying, let's not litigate. Let's see if we can negotiate. But at the Aqua conference, the session on this was all lawyers.
Right.
Kind of with the question, is there any way we can keep this train from hitting us and litigating over this? Anyway, so that's,
Right.
if you ever wanted to spend, like a half-day workshop, we could talk about the Bay Delta plan. I summarize it as, it's massively complex. But this passing this resolution, we would join most of the other Aqua agencies supporting the Aqua position, which basically will be, we got to protect the interests of urban water suppliers from this initiative of the state board staff.
Dave, the question that I had on this was that I saw a disparity between the unimpaired flow statement and what I understood them to be proposing, which was a minimum flow rate at all times. And my understanding of many of the California streams is they're wildly dependent on the snowpack melt. And so you have a huge flow in the spring and almost nothing in October. But it didn't seem like that's how the state was balancing this. They wanted these minimum flows throughout.
And that concern did come up at Bosco. It's unreasonable. It doesn't take the natural cycle into consideration.
Yeah.
It uses our existing storage infrastructure
To create an artificial river.
flows when
You have to let water out of, just like
Yes.
SFPUC has to let 1 CFS out of Pillarcitos year-round for the fish there's nothing, that, constrains the regulators to be reasonable. It's, Fish and Wildlife's first shot at us on Denniston was we want base flows higher than the
flow.
than the flow that exists at Denniston most of the year. It's like,
Right,
where are we going to
which
get the
is-
water
yeah.
to, put in the stream?
It's not, it's nuts.
But-
I don't, yeah.
What is the projected impact that this would have on Los Angeles?
We're gonna be in the newspaper. Oh, you mean for signing the resolution?
No,
or-
oh, I'm sorry, if the State Water Resources Board actually were to pass something like that, so I have a sense of what impact it'll have on us through San Francisco's water, but what about LA?
Well,
Since we're shipping water
this
down to LA.
focuses, right now, this is focused, I think, on the San Joaquin.
Right.
Yeah,
But, and,
Doesn't some of that water go down to LA?
yeah,
yeah, it does.
yeah.
I guess my question is because LA, quite frankly, LA is going to be running the state because that's where the population is.
Yeah.
And because we no longer have a representative Senate like we used to have, we have basically 2 assemblies. LA pretty much dominates the legislature. So whatever LA wants, they can get passed. So if LA's upset about something like this, chances are that something will happen about it. That's why I asked the question. The rest of us can kick and scream all we want, but I'm not sure we have a whole lot, as much impact as when the gorilla actually enters the room.
Anything that increases water flow into the delta benefits the folks that
That pull water
divert from the delta.
So that's what I was trying to get at,
And,
so.
and there's a lot of water
Therein lies
going,
the conspiracy.
there's a lot of water going south. But I mean, it's just, it's tied in with the question of, are we going to build these massive tunnels
Which
to take
definitely
water?
benefits
Yeah, water
the
across the
southern
delta.
California.
So it's,
Yeah.
I think there's,
That doesn't sound good.
there's no resolution in sight. They thought they had made progress in a policy statement that said they were going to honor the co-equal goals of protecting the environment and
Providing
maintaining
water.
public water
Right.
supply. And Aqua sees this move as abandoning the co-equal
Co-equals,
goals. So it's, everything about this is a battle.
Has the governor taken any stand on this?
Again, I refer you back to your question about Northern and Southern California politics. The governor's supporting strongly pushing the tunnels.
Right.
But, this isn't going to have, I think the litigation prevent this from happening in our lifetimes or our children's lifetimes, probably.
All right, gentlemen, what do you think?
I was at the sessions where they were discussing this, and it boggled my imagination. I mean, the lawyers on both sides were truly committed to their respective positions, almost to the point of, it's hard to see how you can get so wrapped up in this stuff. But I don't think we have any choice but to sort of support Aqua. I mean, this is, yes, we've got to do something to show our common support in the water business for this thing. Right.
All right, you want to make a motion for it?
Okay, I move to
This one right there, resolution 2702.
for us to approve Resolution 2017-02, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Coastside County Water District in support of the Association of California Water Agencies policy statement on Bay Delta flow requirements.
I'll second that.
All right. Joanne?
Yes. Dr. Coverdale?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
Dr. Glassberg? Dr. Michelson? President
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Special Districts Board of Directors.
We bring you the much anticipated excitement of voting for a representative to the California Special District Association Board of Directors.
I tell you, these candidate information sheets are
Pretty
pretty boring. I tell you, I should have run. I've got more experience than these 2, 3, whatever, how many guys there are.
If it's the board's desire in the future that we not bring this to the board, we'd be happy to oblige. There do occasionally somebody that we've heard of
Yeah.
appears on the ballot, and
Right.
we'd either like to support them or not.
And that's why we do it, so let's continue to do it for that very reason.
Right.
But we don't,
Someone we know.
No,
but because it's
sometimes
come to us, we
appears.
don't have to do it, do we? I mean, we can
I
just
think we can
choose
just,
not to.
we can,
Well, but
well,
the Caldwell, I mean, there's 2 seats, right?
yeah, there's 2 seats, Caldwell, yeah, there's 2.
One's gonna continue,
Caldwell is an incumbent, correct?
yeah, and then there's 2 others, and the problem with the 2 others is very difficult from the information
Are we allowed to do
to make an
email
assessment
on
of,
TV?
their viability, so it's almost a guess,
It
you
makes me
know?
uncomfortable voting on it when nobody on the board knows anything.
Well, like Caldwell, we talked about before, he was pretty solid, he's got
Yeah,
some,
well, we could vote for Caldwell and leave the second one blank.
Well, the Carapiet, doesn't it say he was elected also?
no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and didn't, it also says that Solano was elected, right?
No, he's elected to the Board of Directors of the Sanitary District. That's what that means. On that, he's on his district. So what do we have to do? Vote on 2 people?
Sure.
One of them is Caldwell for seat A, I guess I
look
would.
for somewhere between 0 and 2, and we'll
Yeah.
communicate your wishes
Yeah.
to the
So
CSDA.
I'm in favor of our checking Stanley Caldwell because he's an
Yeah.
incumbent, so I'm okay with
I
that.
like Solano because he served on CSDA
Done.
legislative committees.
All right, there's our pick.
HR and legal, I mean, the guy's got experience.
Perfect, all right.
He had some background that I agree, that was the one I was gonna go for, because he showed some things
Then we,
that made
clearly,
sense.
we have a choice.
I have a
Solano.
legal question. I'm
Let's
sorry
use
about that.
FBI National
Oh,
Academy.
we have a legal
FBI,
question.
someone use
Do I have a
these.
legal question?
Pat, here you go, a big moment.
If I have a philosophical issue with voting for anybody who, when there's nobody, when there's no candidate that anybody on this board has any familiarity with, and I have a philosophical problem voting, can I abstain legally?
Yeah,
That's a legitimate
there's no
abstention.
legal requirement that
No, you're-
requires you to vote.
And I don't want to vote no, but
Anytime.
but
You
I
can
just
just
don't,
recuse
well, yeah,
yourself.
but I don't want to overuse abstentions or good reasons and bad reasons for abstaining.
Yeah, but you've never abstained before, have you?
No.
This could be it.
All right. Oh,
Let it
God, I'm so
frame.
You
excited.
got a
Get it on
pocket
camera,
full.
he's gonna abstain.
Given the
Okay.
information available, Solano, I agree, has, on the face of it, more background associated with the kind of job that he's doing.
Perfect. All right, I make a motion, we vote for Caldwell and Solano.
Second.
Perfect. Joanne, quick.
Director Coverdale?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
Director Glassford?
Abstain.
Director Michelson?
Yeah, due to the pig in the poke nature, I'm going to abstain too.
Okay.
Oh, you got 3 votes.
That's 3.
And President Reynolds? Okay, thank you.
All right, Mary's here to tell us about Joe's new career plans. When's the party?
I haven't thought of one yet. I haven't figured it out yet.
The guys told me they were setting up the water trucks to put that water arch, and they said depending on how the next month or two goes, how high that arch will be aligned.
Hook it up to somebody's meter so we can actually get a pay for
Get
it.
revenue for it.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I haven't figured out what I'm gonna do.
All right, well, we want to be invited, Joe.
LAFCO.
You've
If I
suffered
do
through,
have one, it'd be an
NAFCO.
American Legion.
perfect, well, you've suffered through enough of these meetings that
Just like about 135 or so.
we need an opportunity to buy you a drink.
Yep. So we've engaged Coffin Associates to launch a recruitment effort for us, and in fact, we're meeting with them tomorrow morning and hope to have somebody, on board before Joe departs, so.
All right. Well, Joe, I want to say it's been a real pleasure having you as part of the team, and I know we're going to miss you. And I want to say I've enjoyed your reports, and you've done a good job putting up with our questions, and I'm sorry to see you go.
Well, thank you for saying that.
We'll give the
Reports would be
board,
much better, but Dave calls them every month.
I sanitize them.
It's getting lippy as he gets close to retirement.
We'll be giving the board a further opportunity to toast and to roast Mr. Gastino before his departure.
Perfect.
And maybe we can prevail on him to, give us a little harp concert as he departs.
I guess you've already engaged these folks.
Yeah, we'd like to have some, ideally, we'd like to have somebody on board in time to have some overlap for orientation
Sure, obviously.
purposes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
So.
Okay, no, that's good.
Heaven forbid Joe wants to take us around and show us where the hidden keys
And,
are.
and should he change his mind, we'll be able to handle that. But he hasn't shown too many signs of that yet.
Okay.
All right. Stunningly enough, the next item on the agenda is you, Joe.
Oh, okay. My monthly highlights are pretty much about the same thing. Deliveries, Denniston deliveries, with the Bridgeport pipeline in, we could easily, without any trouble, flow about 560 gallons per minute. We could actually go higher than that now with the greatest of ease, but as you know, Denniston tank backs up. But that's a good sign. That's a really good thing. Once we get the pump station gone or up, we could bring this up 650, 700 gallons per minute consistently. That's a really, really nice thing. So we're pushing a lot of water south, and as you see from the production numbers, that Denniston is really, really, we're really working on Denniston. Significant amount of water. The pump station, the walls are up on the pump station. They're putting the roof on today. The pumps are in place. They're hooking up the pipe to the well line. So that's coming along rather nicely also. We got our new operator, our replacement for Don Patterson, who retired late last year. Travis Menez, and he's a nice enough fellow. He's fitting in really well with the treatment staff and with the rest of the staff. And he's definitely going to be an asset for us. So if there's anything else, a contractor caused main failure. Sigma Prime, poor guy.
Oh,
He was over on Casalino's property, and he was willing to help fix the bridge that washed out during last winter. And he asked Jimmy Casalino if he should, get a USA there, and Jimmy said, nah, there's nothing here. Went right through our treated water
we saw
pipeline.
the picture.
So then who's responsible?
He is.
He is.
Absolutely.
Sigma Prime or?
Sigma Prime.
Well, I told him, I go, you're just gonna have to work it out with Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sent Sigma Prime the bill.
Yeah.
So the picture in the middle is,
Yeah, you get,
Yeah,
I mean,
he-
that's clearly a hammer.
he needed to be a few inches over to
Yeah.
get right in the middle. But
And it's 7,000?
And just about, I think that's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that.
But that's a no-no to not do a USA. I mean, that's,
Well, you know, if, Jimmy was unaware, his dad knew about that line, and this was the line that was put in 1948. The one that we're going to hopefully, replace with a slip line, in the future, at some point in the future.
it jogs into Cosolino's property there in kind of a,
we've been trying to
Unexpected
identify
way.
where this pipe goes along the
I
way.
have all the easements.
Yeah. No, I mean, we just follow Sigma Prime and we will know where they are.
You know, that's ironic, because just yesterday, he was doing the same thing across the street as the vet, at the vet's property, the veterinary's property. And he's pounding away, and he pulls the thing out, and water's coming out. There was like, I don't know, some sprinkler line or something that nobody knew about. Poor guy, but that's not, you know, that's the private property over there. One other thing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Speaking of underground pipelines,
Yeah.
tomorrow, I'm gonna go down and speak with the city, Carol Hamilton, and with John Rydell. And, the city is, want us to help them justify the 2-inch pipeline CDP, coastal development permit for our 2-inch main replacement project downtown. And we think that we could get this thing passed just by stating that it's going to improve the fire flows in the certain areas of downtown. And we are going to be adding a hydrant or two as part of this project. So this is really, really a good thing.
if they let us have an exemption, that will
And that's what it
cut a
is.
couple of
It's gonna
months
be
off the
CDX.
time to get our permit. It takes that long to get in front of the planning commission and
Yeah,
just
instead
go
of
through
CDP,
there.
it's really a CDX.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
So we have that, we're ready to go to bid on that project if this
We're ready.
effort
We
is
just gotta get
successful.
the permitting in.
So,
Yeah. Two of us jumped to the love letter we received from, on the riprap.
Oh, yeah, that jumps out at me, and I wish our ratepayers were here to see the
Yeah.
environment in which we operate.
Talk about,
Did we expect that?
You're talking about the.
Canyon
Rip
storm
wrap.
there.
Oh, yeah.
Coastal Stone.
I don't think, this is just a boilerplate that this is the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and they're always denying stuff like this, and it's an unreasonable, it's just really an unreasonable request. It would cause more damage to take out that riprap and put in a soft, sort of bank enrichment project. So RCD has helped us out. They've given me a bunch of pointers, and I'm working with Questa Engineering, and I'll be speaking with the Regional Water Quality Control Board before the end of the week to talk them out of this. And it shouldn't be very difficult, because we have proved, well, one of the sites that failed was what they call a willow fascine, where you tie willow branches together to try to fortify the bank. It just washed out. like it was
basket
nothing.
weaving.
Yeah, it was basket weaving essentially.
Performed by Native Americans.
right by the teepee we built, yeah.
Underwater basket weaving.
Water basket weaving, that's essentially what it was, yes. So we could, we're gonna easily say, look, we tried this, it didn't work. So, these rocks are important, but we're gonna dress up the rocks, we're gonna put infill in there, we're gonna plant willow trees in between them, and I'm very confident that we'll be able to talk them into that and be done with it.
Wouldn't just having the equipment required to pull all of that out of there damage the?
Well, that's part of the argument also, exactly.
Tell them that we got some free plantings from the Calaveras Dam project
Yeah.
with that fungus-infected
And
plantings.
the other ironic
Use that.
thing about this is, as you recall, last year, we did the Pelocitos Road repair project,
Yeah.
which involved riprap that RCD got permitted from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. So they were ready to approve this before, but, so that's why I say this is somewhat of a boilerplate. They're not doing their due diligence. It's just dealing with the bureaucracy, which he's got to deal with. So, like I said, I'm confident that we're gonna be able to leave that in place and just dress it up a little bit, and that'll be good.
All right. Yes, sir.
Which one of the El Granada tanks is tank 1? Is that the lowest one?
The lowest one by San Clemente and Columbus,
Uh-huh.
Isabella.
Is that the one with the steep hillside next to the neighbor?
That's the one where we weren't allowed to put the cell tower, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that gave way, huh? Slid down?
Well, that bank was actually, back in the old days, when we tried to cut as much corners as we could, it was just a bunch of cement sacks that they watered down, and that was it. That was the extent of the engineering that went into that wall. So it had failed. It was bound to happen sooner or later. And, the torrential rains of this year did it. So, yeah, we're gonna be addressing that in the next month or two.
Yeah, great.
We have to address it before the next rain, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Which could be next week.
Yeah, it could be
Last
any day
week.
now, I know.
Just last week.
That's an example of a project that we didn't anticipate that will prove to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, I bet.
Because it's a very steep bank, there's very little space between the steep bank and the road, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be the mother of all retaining walls right there.
Yeah, that's a tough site.
Yeah.
Really tough. Well, maybe they could put some wire in between the block work, and that would actually allow cell communication to operate.
We just need more cement sacks. Need to put more cement in them.
All right, Kathleen, you doing the next one?
Yeah, I'll be quick. Just kind of an update on our Pillarcitos Creek Watershed Integrated Water Management Plan. We haven't heard about that plan in a while, but the Resource Conservation District for San Mateo County approached us on behalf of USGS to enter into a 3-year agreement to subsidize the continued operation of the lower Pillarcitos Creek stream gauge. That's the one that's near where Highway 1 crosses over Pillarcitos Creek here in downtown Half Moon Bay. So back in, from water year 2010 to 2013, the district did help subsidize the operation of that stream gauge, along with SFPUC, the Sewer Authority, Midcoast, and let's see, and then us, for 3 years. And that seemed to go well, and then I think they must have gotten funding federally for the last couple of years, but now it seems they're short funding again. So along with the same organizations, but this time including the County of San Mateo for at least 1 year will help contribute toward.
Why do they get off so little?
I don't know. Well, I've heard different explanations. I have asked that question.
Right.
They don't have the money, is the number one response. And then the other response is that it's more of they consider more responsibility for the local agencies here on the coastside to support it.
It's their county.
So, yeah.
Like the county unincorporated area.
Right.
And I see the cost went down.
Yeah.
Yes, so yeah,
It's a good
the
thing.
cost is down. So the only agency, so I think most of the agencies have committed except for San Francisco because they just have a longer approval process that they have to go through. But verbally, they are in support of, again, contributing toward the gauge. It is an important gauge for those of us who use Pillarcitos.
Can't we put the gauge on the old Main Street Bridge and send a bill to the city?
The city contributes through the Sewer Authority.
Oh.
They wouldn't be able to approve that because it might damage the structure of the bridge, you know that.
Might change character of it.
We've been through that.
Kathleen,
So
That sounds
anyway,
good.
I just wanted to
And
update that.
these are 3-year, not annual costs.
These are the total for 3 years, yeah. We-
20,
Oh,
so it's
okay.
about 20,000.
19.
That's what it says.
3
So
years.
it has gone up a
It's
bit
not,
on an annual basis.
no.
No, water year, the total operation of the gauge was $70,000.
For 4 years,
For 3
though.
years.
And the other one was for 4 years.
And almost, yeah, it was a little bit longer.
So that's why it's more. Okay, thank you.
But, and then I did include, you can go to, they have all the data online, so I included that link. If you're interested in seeing the flows real time of the Pillar Sales Creek.
Okay.
In my spare time.
That's being done on your signing authority, I guess.
That was one of the big deliverables of the Palacitos Integrated Watershed Management Plan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This was a big deliverable. This is one of the big things
Yeah.
we did
Yes,
back in those days, back in the days.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time on
And
it.
it's something we have to do and
Yeah, no,
should
this
do,
was,
and,
this was a major deliverable of that whole
yeah.
session for years.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. Do we have any director agenda items or request for future board meetings? Ken, that jumps straight to you. Bob?
No.
Seems like we were going to have a workshop on future water sources.
Based on the strategic plan.
Yep,
Yes.
Dave, how's that progressing?
We're thinking we'll do that next month.
Cool, man.
Don't do it next
How
month.
about that? I'd like to put that on the
I
agenda.
won't be here, don't do it next month.
Well, we'll introduce it on an agenda, and then if the board wants to have a dedicated session, we can do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right, let's do
You're
it.
missing July meeting. Yeah, I am here, but.
All right, Bob, you got anything?
Nope.
Chris?
Well, party planning for Joe's retirement.
We're there.
I mean, that's top of the list, right?
Yep.
Ad hoc
Use the new
committee.
Vector truck to clean up.
Yeah, there you go. Put it together.
John will be thrilled.
We'll have to get a backup band and a free microphone
Yeah,
for the party.
it's gotta be filmed.
Whammer jammer.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, at this point then, I think we're ready to go to closed session, is that right?
Oh, joy.
All right.
I'd like to leave
Yep.
it.
Okay.
So you were asking.
Yeah, so
me
it's 8:56 and we're gonna go into closed
back to the
session
Montero
pursuant